Howdy guys, back again. I've had a slight break because I've been unwell, had labyrinthitis and could barely even sit up, let alone film. But I'm back with a vengeance and here to do a book review of Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Now this is a very well known book, but I will summarise the plot just in case you've fallen off the face of the earth recently. In the future, where life on Earth has become pretty dull and pretty unpleasant, and most people live their lives through an online sort of computer existence in a world called Oasis, where you can make your own avatar, you can be whoever you want to be, and yeah, you can do everything through that. Play games, meet people, chat, have friends, even go to school, so everything is done online, which sounds pretty nice to me. One day, the creator of this online world dies, I think. When he dies, he leaves an announcement that basically he's leaving everything he has to whoever can solve this puzzle that he's created, and he leaves the first clue. And this story is all about lots of different people's attempts to try and be the person who wins, to crack the code and win the prize. And that's this story in a nutshell. I think it's worth saying straight away that this is a really, really good book. You should definitely read it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Thoroughly enjoyable read. I had heard really good reviews of this through BookTube, but also my dad had read it and said that he'd enjoyed it, so I thought, why the devil not? Let's give this a go. And one of the most noticeable things about the book is the constant sort of pop culture references to people who've been interested in gaming or that sort of thing through the 80s and 90s. This is going to have huge appeal because it mentions a lot of games, a lot of old TV shows. You just get to have a right nerd out when you read it, and that's really quite an enjoyable part of the book. Although at times it does feel a bit forced, that didn't stop me from enjoying it because I love a bit of gaming nostalgia. The massive positives for me was that the story got going right from the start. I often find that the first half of books is quite slow for me and I take a long time to get into them, whereas this didn't. It was almost right from page 1. I was completely hooked and into it, which is a sign of a really good book. Both at the start and throughout the book, I found that I had a real drive to know what was going to happen, that you were just really curious. You wanted to see how it was going to pan out. I think later on in the story it got a bit predictable, but that didn't detract from it at all because by then you were invested in the characters and you wanted good things to happen. One of the things I really enjoy about sort of sci-fi books is learning about a new world, and for me, that this story does that. It has this Oasis world where it's the online computer game, and it spends a lot of time describing it, describing how it's come about, describing the different planets and things inside of it, and I really enjoy that because it's something that I sort of sci-fi nerd out a bit over. Some people might find it goes into a bit too much detail and that's quite annoying, but actually I love being completely absorbed by a new and different world and finding out all about it. It is fundamentally a good, exciting story, but it just keeps you going. You're desperate to find out what's going to happen next. You're gripped by the story and you want to keep reading. So even if you're not really into the pop culture references and you're not really into reading about new worlds and sci-fi books, I think fundamentally the storyline will keep you going and you will enjoy it regardless. One of the sort of slightly weirder positives was the way it does actually really make you think about modern life and the way that we interact with other people, particularly when you're doing a video where you're talking about reading to a camera. It sort of raises those questions of, is this the best way to interact with people? Is this ruining lives? Is this detracting from the quality of life? It makes you think about where the world is going, and is the world going to go that way, and is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's just quite a thought-provoking book too. The only real negative that I had about this book was I found it really hard to suspend belief enough to believe that the main character was able to break codes that the rest of the world and all their powers put together couldn't. I found that a little hard to believe. To be honest, I am trying to find negatives desperately just to say something, so it's not a huge deal. So to sum this book up in a nutshell, sci-fi, pop culture references, read it. This is a good book, you will enjoy it. If you're into sci-fi, you'll like it more. If you are any sort of nerd that's over the age of 20, you're going to like it even more. If you've read either this one or any other books by Ernest Cline, then let me know, because I'd love to know, should I read another one? What did you think of this? I think it's great. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.